Alrighty. Well, a friend of mine just posted up a picture of Yuval Noah Harari on Facebook, and it got me to thinking. He's a very rat-like man. He is. He looks like a rat, and he's got a ratty way. He got a way about him like a rat, anyway. Just a very shifty, nasty kind of a man. He's the fella who tells us that free will is over and that we're animals and we don't have any spirit inside of us and there is no God and all that business. And just an awful, awful person anyway. And he is Klaus Schwab's right-hand man. You'd think it'd be Justin Trudeau, but no, it's Yuval Noah Harari, who is Klaus Schwab's right-hand man. Justin Trudeau's one of Klaus Schwab's puppets. That's what he is. But anyway, yeah, every time I see that guy, though, he puts me in mind of a rat. I don't know if you've ever seen the kids' cartoon. I was a grown man when this was out, but I remember being at people's houses that had kids and it would be playing on the TV. There's the kids' cartoon Arthur, and all the characters in the cartoon are basically animals, but they're in human roles. And they have a teacher in the school by the name of Mr. Ratburn. And every time I see Yuval Noah Harari, he puts me in mind of Mr. Ratburn. Only Mr. Ratburn was a nice character. He wasn't a bad character. But he was a rat, basically. And he had human characteristics, but he was a rat. And that's why I think Yuval Noah Harari puts me in mind of him anyway. Because Yuval Noah Harari, he has human... Yuval Noah Harari has human attributes, but he's very rat-like. It's almost like they bred a human being with a rat, and this is what they got. Which actually, in their world, that wouldn't surprise me. If it's possible at all, I'm sure they've done it. Like, what an awful bunch, anyway. And anyway, those people are the reason that we're in the bad shape we're in. Those people and the other people who are puppets operating within various governments around the world who are allowing themselves to put what those people want and those people's interest ahead of the interest of their respective populations. Our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, the American President, Joe Biden's another one. These people put the interest of the World Economic Forum and the globalist agenda ahead of the interest of their own people. There's really nothing wrong with America first, or Canada first, or whatever. People get all worked up over MAGA, Make America Great Again, Oh, that's terrible, racism, and on like that. Well, no, it isn't racism. If America is great, everybody benefits regardless of their race. If you're living in the United States and the United States is great, you will have a better life than you will if the United States isn't great. Regardless of your skin color or the language you speak, or your sexual orientation, that seems to be a big topic of conversation these days too. All of that stuff, regardless of any of it, regardless of whether you're able-bodied or disabled, young, old, whatever, everybody has a better quality of life in the United States if the United States is great. And that's true for every country. The same is true for Canada. Our Prime Minister made a bit of a slip. It was kind of comical, really. He accused the Conservatives and people on the right of the political spectrum of wanting to make Canada great again. Of course, because there's this thing where they're trying to make that a threatening thing. And he said, they want to make Canada great again, and Canadians don't want that. Well, if you're a Canadian who's a fool, you don't want that. If you're a Canadian who likes not having a place to live and not being able to afford food and not being able to afford fuel, and who likes unemployment and homelessness, tent cities everywhere, rampant drug drug abuse and alcoholism, a suicide rate that's through the roof, a government that facilitates suicide, we have that now, for their MAID program, their MAID program. Yeah, if you like all that stuff, then I suppose you don't want Canada to be great. But really, I can tell you, I know that if Canada were great, my life would be better. My life would be more affordable. My life would be more comfortable. I'd have opportunities that I don't have now. I could actually get somewhere by working hard, as opposed to just working hard to continue to be poor. You know, it'd be great. So yeah, as a Canadian citizen, I disagree with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I would like for Canada to be great. I don't think it ever was as great as it's been made out to be. I don't think the United States was ever as great as it was made out to be. You know, things get exaggerated. But, I mean, both places were better than they are now at one time. Even with all their problems, and both countries have had bad problems, there's no doubt about it. Every place in the world has bad problems. We're living in a fallen world, after all. We can't expect for that not to be the case. But yeah, anyway, make America great again sounds good to me. I like Americans for the most part. I think that a lot of Canadians look down their nose at Americans. I don't. I've known some really good, decent people who happen to be American citizens, and I think very highly of them. And, you know, like it or not, the United States was the great experiment, in democracy and in freedom. And in, you know, people from all over the world came to the United States to have a better life. They escaped other places, in some cases risking life and limb to escape those places so that they could come to the United States and have a better life. And people of all races did that. Now, yes, there was slavery. There were people brought over to the United States by force and enslaved. And that's a shameful part of their history, and they know that. I mean, you won't meet too many Americans who say, yeah, that was great, you know. We did good there. I think pretty much every American citizen you'd speak to would say, yeah, that was a shameful thing, we shouldn't have done that. But, you know, there'd be very few who wouldn't feel that way. But the bottom line is this: the majority of the people who came to the United States came for a better life, and they found it. And the same was true of Canada at one time. There were a lot of people came to Canada for a better life, and they found it here. Even with all our problems, and believe me, I've lived here all my life. I know this country, and I've always been very realistic. I've never been a patriot. I've never been one of these ones to say my country, right or wrong. And there's lots that are that way, but I've never been that way. And I acknowledge this country has problems, and it's always had problems. And it's never been as great as it was once made out to be. But it was at one time far better than it is now. Far better. And it can be far better again, maybe. Although it's pretty far gone. Maybe it can't be. I don't know. It might be too far gone now. But anyway, we got to at least try. And so, yeah. Anyway, seeing the picture of that Yuval Noah Harari, it just brought that to mind anyway. What a rat-like little weasel that guy really is. And that's what they have. Like, it's almost like a really corny child's cartoon, really, these people. Klaus Schwab is like the evil villain the supervillain. And Noah Harari is like his little sidekick, his little rat-like sidekick running around, scurrying around, And I mean, it really is. It's like they've taken a kid's cartoon from the 70s or 80s, and they've turned it into like they've turned a cartoon like He-Man or whatever, Masters of the Universe. They've turned that into a real thing with these supervillains, or they've turned like Batman or something into a real thing, or the detective, the British detective there, if it was cryogenically frozen in the 60s. There was a movie about him. I think there was more than one actually. And he had there was the super villain there in the oversized chair with the white cat, the little bald-headed guy. Maybe I shouldn't talk about being bald-headed right now, but you know what I mean. That guy stroking his white cat, maniacally plotting to take over the world. Well, that's what Klaus Schwab is, basically. He's that guy, Anyway, yeah, we were up against it anyway. I mean, even those who are supposed to be looking out for our interest aren't. They're working against us. They're actively working against us. And that's quite a thing. I think they always have, but now they're doing it openly. There isn't even an appearance anymore of them serving us. In fact, they're letting us know in no uncertain terms, you have no rights, you will do as you're told, or you will face the consequences. And as it stands, doing as we're told, we have to cut our own throats. That's the only way we can do as we're told. We have to do things that will destroy us. So anyway, that's it. Can't go on this way. Something's got to give. Something is going to give at some point, because it always does. The one good thing about all this is that people are waking up to reality. People are beginning to see how things really are. One reason that these people, these globalists, are throwing everything they've got at us right now and attacking us from all sides is because they're desperate. And all they know how to do is to frighten and bully and intimidate people and shame people into compliance. And that works with a certain segment of the population. But I can tell you for myself, you try to bully me, that just makes me mad. I'll be ashamed if I have something to be ashamed for. I'm capable of being ashamed. I have been ashamed. I've had good reason to be ashamed over different things that I've done in my life. But I will not be ashamed just because I'm told I should be by some dink. I'm not going to be ashamed just because some outfit like Prime Minister Trudeau, like Justin Trudeau, tells me I should be. I mean, he needs to look in his own backyard before he starts looking around in mine. If I had a backyard, which I don't because I'm homeless, because Canada is not great. If Canada were great, I might have a chance at not being homeless anymore. Me and a lot of others. And I'm marginally better off than some. At least I have a truck. And I have this little spot to park this camper for now, although that will be going away in about a month's time. At least I've had that for 2.5 years. There's lots of people haven't had that. When I first lost my house, I didn't have a truck or a camper or a place to park a camper. I was in a tent in the woods. I was up all night trying to keep bears and friggin' coyotes and everything else, trying to frighten those things away from my tent. That's what I was doing. So there's a lot of people living like that now. And not because they've done wrong, not because they've made bad choices or anything, but just because life has been priced out of their reach. Anyway, so like I say, something is going to give. It has to. People are waking up. I really believe we're living in the end times, according to the book of Revelation. I may be wrong about that. I don't know that. And we're told not to set dates and things like that, that only the Father in heaven knows for sure the date that it will happen. But we are also